Hey Alejandro, I'm so excited to be here with you. And I'm super excited and feel lucky that we both met in front of Warren Buffett's house in Omaha, Nebraska. And that was such a chance, serendipitous meeting. And it was really cool live streaming with you and your friend in front of his house, where we just sort of found each other and admired how the greatest of all time investor, Warren Buffett, just lives in this very quiet suburban home in this really lovely neighborhood in Omaha. And then we attended the Berkshire meeting on April 30th. And I just wanted to ask, what were some of your takeaways from the meeting?
Hi, Michelle. So yeah, I was really excited to see you there, and I identify with you. I have a big passion for Mr. Buffett, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about my takeaways. First than anything, when he started, it was amazing how humorous he was. I don't, you probably
Yeah.
remember how he was just talking about how if your Sherman is a 91 and a 98 guy, you need to be entitled to see him. So that was the big part when he started. Um, I also just keep learning from him. I remember that he started talking about all the things that he bought, and it was just amazing. One of the big things that stands to me from him is how he always says that he doesn't have a plan. He just steps a foot in front of the other,
Hmm.
and on December when we see almost 150 billion dollar in cash. I mean, I think we as shareholders start to like, oh, what is he gonna to do?
Yeah.
And just the way he just in few weeks all this change. I think we're still curious what did he bought big. Well, I mean, entirely what else did he buy, because we have almost like 30 billion in our mind, but there's still stuff that we don't really know what he bought and what also what he sell. What
Hmm.
I mean, what about you? What were your takeaways?
Yeah, I got on related to what you're saying about like how much cash he has and how much he bought. Like I remember reading the 2021 annual letter that came out in February, and they said that last year in 2021, not much excited them. And then all of a sudden we started seeing Buffett buy more, and maybe it wasn't him, maybe it was Todd and Ted, but we started seeing them buy Activision or Formula One, and also they put huge stakes in Occidental Petroleum, and then they bought Allegheny Insurance and also put a large stake in HP Computer. So, in doing all those things, it seems like finally the markets are starting to offer maybe more attractive buying opportunities, as well as what also stood out to me was how, even though Berkshire had been doing a lot of stock buybacks, they started also slowing down on that. And so to date, like I know you said that at the end of 2021, they maybe had almost $150 billion of cash. And then now that went down to around $106 billion of cash. And so some of that, in addition to the stocks he bought, was also buying back Berkshire stock. But what stood out to me, especially, was how Buffett said that they stopped doing buybacks in April. So to me, that signaled immediately that maybe Berkshire was already reaching its full intrinsic value as of maybe late March or early April when it hit its all time highs. Like I think Berkshire A stock hit maybe almost 550,000 per share. And then the Berkshire B stock hit around $362 per share.
Yeah, that is true, and that that you are mentioning, it really stood out to me also, because I don't really know what he meant, because I don't know if you remember, but before he said that he didn't buy anything in April, he also said that if they would have offered him like 50 billion before, like in the last 5 months, he would have buy. So that kind of confused me. I don't know what are your takes on that? What?
Like what when which offered 50 billion?
Yeah, he said before, saying that he didn't buy anything in April, that if he was offered 50 billion in like shares, he would have taken it like 5 months before, which it was kind of confusing. But
Mhm. I'm not sure if maybe I didn't understand that quite, but I mean, either way, it seems like he's maybe more focusing on if there's some equities or whole companies he might be able to buy. Like, and also I think maybe I didn't study yet the earnings report, but maybe their earnings pace is starting to slow down a little bit.
Okay, I got you. So another thing that really stood out to me from the Occidental is what he pointed out, how the market is just becoming a little kind of like casino wise, because he says that if people weren't playing like that, he will not be able to buy so much of a company in such a short period. And I think that's one of the things that you and me believe, how I mean, we want to buy and just hold forever. And it's just through his teachings that just keeps just showing us that he just keeps applying something that he learned a very, very long time ago. And that was really, really interesting to me.
Yeah, and how maybe he was able to find the buying opportunities in Occidental because of like the traders who, they're kind of just doing short-term moves in it, and that's fine. But then he's looking at it at a longer timeline, and maybe identifying that, there were blocks that were opening up from maybe Carl Icahn moving out of Occidental Petroleum. It's sort of maybe convenient timing that as he's exiting that company, Buffett saw an opportunity to invest in it, as I'm sure, he's aware of what's going on with Russia and Ukraine, and the oil prices are spiking up. And maybe that's why, oil prices will continue to remain high for a while. And so maybe that's if for anyone who understands the oil and gas industry, maybe that's why that's a good investment. Like, I don't know enough about oil and gas, so even though I could have copied Buffett a little bit into the trade, I didn't try to buy Occidental Petroleum because I just don't know enough, and I don't know, when would be a good exit point, and I would not be able to, maneuver as well as Buffett did, so I didn't make that same leap.
Yeah, me neither. I will I will support you in that decision, because I definitely didn't buy just because I don't understand. What is your favorite Buffett stock that
My
he owns,
favorite, I mean,
or
I
business?
think, yeah, I like how Buffett owns Apple. Like, I would love to buy Apple at a much lower price. Like, I think that since it's like one of the biggest, if not the biggest portion of the S&P 500 index, I think by default, a lot of money just keeps flowing into Apple, and that's fine for a lot of S&P 500 index fund holders. But for people who want to buy Apple at a price that makes sense to me, as from what I've learned about Buffett and also Munger, like, I shouldn't want to buy Apple at the full price. Like, the full retail price is kind of what it's maybe trading at in the markets. And I want to wait until I can get a substantial discount to what I believe its intrinsic value is. And also the one stock that Buffett doesn't own, but that Charlie Munger, I think, owns maybe personally, is Costco. And I would love to also buy Costco when it goes lower in its stock price.
Yeah, Costco is such an amazing story. It just keeps going up and up and up. But and
Yeah.
I kind of look at it like I think like a year ago, and I thought that I was gonna go down. I also read Nick Sleep's letter. I don't know if you've been able to read those.
Not yet. I need to catch up on those. Everybody has so many good things to say about Nick Sleep's letters. I definitely have that on my reading list.
Yeah, so I mean, I kind of understood the company a little more and kind of understood the mode, because even with Amazon, it just, I don't know, it just makes you doubt. But I mean, it's just like such a big following that that brand is just so powerful in the mind of the people that definitely is a great buy. But like you said, I mean, we really gotta wait for the right time to do it. And I was gonna ask you, what do you think about China? Like Alibaba, like how Charlie is there. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's definitely possibly a big opportunity there. And, you know, what's a little tricky are the tensions between the US and China, because it feels like we're both trying to be the world power. And, you know, I know China has been rising, and their population has been increasingly entering the middle class, which is great. So there's going to be more consumers, and in a similar way to the US, where more people are in the Amazon Prime ecosystem, I can only imagine that more people will be in the Alibaba ecosystem, where, even though I know it's more business to business focused in their memberships of how, you know, their sellers sell at a high volume, at the same time they're offering a lot of services for just consumers. So I think that it seems the regulatory picture is getting better with, you know, both in China domestic, and like how the Chinese regulators are treating the Chinese big tech, as well as, like, I know there was a little bit of tension with the U.S. Public Accounting Oversight Board requirements of, you know, holding foreign companies accountable act. And I think that Chinese regulators will probably, you know, try to find a way to meet the US expectations as well, because I just think that, like Charlie Munger says, both countries need to find a way to get along with each other. So I think there's, you know, potential there. I mean, I'm not saying, you know, this is not an investing advice, this is just my opinion, but there's definitely potential there, like Ray Dalio has talked about. And I don't know exactly, you know, what are the right investments for people to make. Like, they have to judge if this is in their own value system. Like, do they believe in the Chinese economy and where the people are going there and how the government is behaving, or do they not agree? Because you want to be able to invest in something that you can believe in. And if they're doing some things that you don't agree with, you know, nobody is saying that you have to invest there. But I wonder, you know, in many years from now, just like how it took maybe 7 years for the BYD investment to really pay off well, I wonder if it might take a long time for something like Baba or Tencent or, you know, Prosus to come back to levels that investors might value it at, because of course they've all been down, and I don't know, you know, how they will perform in the future. That's anyone's guess, but it's very striking to me from what I've studied so far about some really good investors, how they're trending. And if, you know, really good investors, in addition to Charlie Munger and Ray Dalio, people like Guy Spear and Monish Pabrai, Bill Miller and Greg Alexander and more have been investing in Chinese stocks. So what are these really good investors seeing, and what can we maybe learn from them? And we can just, you know, follow along. We don't have to necessarily invest, but we can see if we think they're making the right moves or not, and then, you know, just follow it over time and see what happens. So, you know, for some people, it just depends on what you're comfortable with. And I wanted to ask, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, what you said makes all the sense. I also agree that if all those big guys are getting in, I mean, it just makes you want to get in. And I do think Alibaba is such a powerful company, and different from Amazon, they are like an asset light company, which just makes you think is going to have a bigger return on invested capital. So it makes it more interesting. And then they are the leaders in the cloud, and just being the leader in the cloud, like Amazon has shown, is such a powerful advantage that it's just, I mean, you just want to be there just because of that, but at the same time, obviously, it just scares you because of all the regulations. But I mean, I'm definitely like, I definitely love that company, to be honest with you. But
Well, that's great. And also the other really cool thing is how, you know, they're part of the infrastructure in many ways, just like American big tech is part of our infrastructure. Like, most people's lives are touched in some way by either Apple, Google, Amazon, maybe Facebook. Like, some of those big companies, they're a big part of our lives. So I think in a similar way, the Chinese big tech will continue to play even a bigger role the more that Chinese population will improve in their socioeconomic status, and, you know, their role in the world will, I think, in general, just be increasing. So it's not going backwards, you know what I mean? So there will be more need for cloud, more need for the tech infrastructure that they're building. And there's probably a really bright future there.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. And coming a little back to the meeting, it was to me so cool to be able to see Bill Gates, Tim Cook,
Bill
just
Murray.
Bill Murray, what's that Chase guy? JP
Oh,
Morgan.
Jamie Dimon.
Oh yeah, Jamie. That part was just like, it was just crazy.
Yeah, it was like a dream. And also I really loved also meeting briefly Becky Quick.
Oh yeah.
She was so cool because she's the one who's mainly asking Buffett and Munger the questions, but she's done so many interviews with a lot of these top investors and other, financial important people too.
Yeah, she's amazing. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't get that pleasure because she was in the other side.
Yeah.
Where did you saw her?
I just saw her right outside the CHI Health Center, and also in the crosswalk going to the Hilton. So, it's just a lucky running into her. And I feel like such a fangirl. I was like, can I take a picture with you? And she was nice and gracious to allow me to do that. So I'm just grateful to have met her briefly. And also the same thing with Jamie Dimon. There's like a swarm of people around him. And that was also cool to briefly see him in person, and also so many cool people. Like I also especially admire Guy Spear and Monish Pabrai, and they were just so, nice to talk to people, and also, gracious to take pictures with us. So it was just really awesome being, in a similar place, like all these really cool, important people, right?
Yeah, totally agree. And yeah, now that you say that, I do want to mention that, like, yeah, Monish, Guy Spear, Chris Bloomstrang,
Mm-hmm.
and all these people are the face towards, like, whenever the sad day comes of Munger and Buffett not being here, they're gonna be the ones that just keep teaching to me that the true way of investing, because it is scary, like what it is going on in the world, like how people just gamble and they just say that they're investing, but it's just, that part to me is just fascinating, and I really hope they can build that brand that Charlie and Warren have, because it's the only way to people like us to get to know the truth and not get into that bandwagon craziness of just jumping in one stock, just paying fees to Robinhood or whoever, and just losing our money. And
Yeah, or hoping something goes to the moon. But it's funny you say that, because there were also some more takeaways from Charlie that stood out to me. In addition, like he's been talking about this gambling trend for the last couple of years. Like I feel like he reiterated a lot at the Daily Journal meeting in February, and then also again he talked a little bit more about it. But the one thing that I think was a little bit more feedback that we got from both Charlie and Warren Buffett was, how last year, I think, or the year before, Buffett was a little bit holding back on his thoughts about Bitcoin and crypto, and he didn't want to offend anyone. But then when I think Charlie was just saying what's on his mind, and he doesn't care who he upsets, I was just feeling so excited that, he's just being who he is and telling it like it is. And then Buffett also let loose a little bit, where he said, it's not a productive asset, unlike a farm, or if you have an apartment building, you can generate cash flow from those things. But how do you generate cash flow from Bitcoin or crypto? And the only mechanism that you mainly rely on is that it continues to have importance in this digital network, and that someone is willing to pay a higher price for that asset than you did. So, you don't have as good of a mechanism to produce cash flow out of it. And if there is a way, and I'm just ignorant, like if anyone wants to let me know, how do you generate cash flow out of something like Bitcoin, feel free to let me know. But the main way that I've understood is kind of like owning gold. It's like owning a commodity, where if you buy it at a certain price, then maybe that's the best you can hope for. And otherwise, you might have to just sell it at a higher price or a lower price, depending on where it ends up. But I mean, that's kind of the impression I got. So I was super happy to hear Buffett and Munger say more about what they thought about that stuff. And what do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely take, I think Monish took that approach, and I definitely do not understand it. So I just, like Charlie sometimes says, I just try not to think about it, just because you know how I mean, we do have to invest our precious time in the stuff we kind of like, one like, second kind of thing that we understand, and that's not my case with Bitcoin. But yeah, I mean, what you say is just so valuable, and obviously at least hopefully makes people think, and just if they want to risk a little, and not just like certain people that you heard stories that they lost so much because just jumping in the bandwagon, that is just crazy.
Yeah, and it was especially telling when, Charlie made a really scathing remark when he said that something like he wouldn't want to be associated with things that make him look bad or that he thinks are evil and bad for people. Like, so it really, he kind of put it in its place of how strongly he feels about this thing, because he said something about it before where sometimes these alternative assets can be used for, illicit purposes sometimes. And, I think there is a lot of potential with blockchain technology. And I would want to see it used in a way that, like, let's say it's used to make a secure bank account or a secure payment processing so that people don't get, screwed in transactions that they're doing. So if respectable companies can find a way to use blockchain technology, I think that will be the most practical. So I'm just trying to, not look at it like a gold rush, but you want to look at it more like, instead of going for the gold, you want to go for more like starting a business where you're selling the pickaxes and the jeans overalls to all the people who are trying to dig the gold. And then those people, like, if you were the founder of Levi Strauss jeans, like maybe you would have made a better business long term than the people who were trying to pan for gold.
Yeah, you have that well, really well said.
Thank you.
And I was also gonna ask you what you were talking about, Nebraska Furniture Mart. Remember you would tell us.
Yeah.
You were gonna
Yeah,
tell
and
us
that
the
was
story.
really awesome. Like getting to see what the famous Mrs. Rose Blumkin built. And it was really cool also seeing, like, there was a performing arts building dedicated to her, and seeing all of the Nebraska Furniture Mart buildings, and they had this awesome barbecue picnic with a live band. So that was really awesome for Berkshire Hathaway to host that for all the shareholders, and get to know more fellow shareholders who are like-minded, and to see what she and her family built. Like, it's just incredible seeing how Nebraska Furniture Mart was sort of like a combination of Best Buy or PC Richards, and also like furniture, like it's better quality than maybe a lot of other furniture stores. And I don't want to say it's better than any particular furniture store, because I don't want to put down certain furniture stores, but it was as good quality, if not much better than maybe a lot of other furniture stores that I've seen. And you can get all the latest appliances or gaming devices or TVs. Like, it was just like in everything, almost like another Costco. But I know that maybe it's a little bit of a different focus. Like, Costco is more of a treasure hunt, and maybe some people also feel that way about Nebraska Furniture Mart. But it was really an impressive sight to see, and look so efficient. And I know that Mrs. B sold the majority of Nebraska Furniture Mart to Berkshire in 1983. And then I think eventually they might have bought out the full stake. But, it's incredible how, speaking to one of the sales representatives in the NFM department, she talked about how some of the secret to the Blumkin success in passing down the skills throughout all the family members, and the great grandchildren work there and so on, is that they're always wanting to get the best price for the customer, and they don't want to have any other perks. Like, let's say a a vendor is trying to get business with Nebraska Furniture Mart, and then they might say, here's some extra things that you can have. But then on the Nebraska Furniture side, they will say, no, we just want the lowest price you can give us, and that's what we want. We don't want extra stuff. So they just keep it very straightforward and streamlined. And I thought that was incredible to admire. So it's just like Buffett says, that we could stand to learn a lot from what Mrs. B built, and to, try to incorporate their successful approaches into our own business ventures.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And to compliment you, I think there was a famous phrase for her that she will say, sell cheap and tell the truth. Something.
And don't cheat nobody.
Don't cheat nobody. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, another thing, yeah, to compliment also was that every Uber I got into in Omaha, you start talking about them and they all will tell you that they do their shopping at the Nebraska Furniture Mart. Their moat in Omaha is so big that I'm not sure, but I don't even think there's other, there's competition for them out there because they're so powerful and that is what, like, I feel Berkshire is always trying to look, just getting all this moat around them, and every business that they have is just such a wonderful castle that has sharks and all this crazy thing that Buffett says.
Right. Yeah. And someone else told me that everywhere you look in Omaha, there's a little bit of Buffett's, fingerprint sort of on it. Sometimes it's more obvious and other times it's more subtle, but in many ways, like by Buffett being there and fostering the kind of investing community he did, it has helped make Omaha a very lovely city. Like, I was very impressed when I went there.
Yeah, I agree. Like you said, that magic that you feel at the house and just everywhere. I don't know, though, for me, we're just 4 amazing days. And if you ask me to explain it, it's just honestly not even easy to put in words. It's just like the feeling of just like-minded people and people that just want to learn from the greatest. And yeah, it was such an amazing experience.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to go back. Are you planning to go back next year?
Yeah, I definitely hope there's one more time to go back next year and be able to feel that and live that thing again, because it was something else in my life. So really,
Yeah.
like you said, really thankful to have that opportunity, and really hope for one more chance to be there next year.
Yeah, and just being in that arena and seeing Buffett and Munger up close, and them just, sharing it, it's a sort of camaraderie and a way that they just are, that is just so incredible. And I'm also super grateful to have gone there, and I look forward to seeing you there again, and also just continuing to be part of this community. So the great thing is that we'll continue to build our investing friendships, and to keep being in touch with like-minded investors. And it's just a positive feedback loop and flywheel, like I think they've talked about, like in being part of this, like it will always grow in the positive direction. And that's one of the most amazing things that, no, even if they pass away soon, we'll always have that with us.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And yeah, I think one of the biggest miracles we had in our life was to be able to know about them.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's awesome talking with you, Alejandro, and I'm super excited to stay in touch with you. And I wish you all the best in your investments. And I'm sure we will be trying to work our hardest to be like Buffett and Munger too.
Absolutely, absolutely. A pleasure, and thanks for letting me be here with you. It was an honor and a pleasure to meet you again.
Thank you, Alejandro. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.